said, I just spent a month with my parents in Philadelphia, and it was great. It was wonderful to be home. It was the first time I was home in a couple of years. And as I was leaving to come back here, my mom says, don't do anything stupid. I'm almost 50 years old, and my mom is telling me not to do anything stupid. So sure enough, as soon as I got to Bali, I did the stupidest thing. On a Facebook group about looking for land in Bali, I posted my phone number. 86 messages. Sorry, 86 messages in one day. It's the most messages I've got since I posted on Tinder that I'm looking for a ladyboy. Hi, I'm Fritz, and I should really listen to my mom. It was, it was great being back. I was back for my dad's 80th birthday, and my dad's doing great. He's really doing wonderful. He's getting a little forgetful. He's 80. He forgot that he doesn't like me. I went with my parents to the racetrack. My mom loves horses, and it was always fun to go to the racetrack. And when I was there, going through the betting program in the 8th race, there was a horse named Jakarta. Now, what are the odds? I mean, I'm the only person from Philadelphia who lives in Jakarta. Now I'm in Philadelphia at a racetrack, and there's a horse named Jakarta. I had to go for it. I had to listen to the universe. Because if there's one thing I've learned in Bali, actually, there's two things I've learned in Bali. One, the girls at Shishi don't necessarily like me for my looks and my personality. But two, listen to the universe. And here I am at the horse track, and the universe is telling me, we want you to be rich. So I went to the ATM, I withdrew my life savings up to the betting window. Race 8, $17. Jakarta to win. And the guy at the counter says, can't. Now obviously he doesn't know I live in Bali. Maybe if I would have worn a Deus t-shirt, he would have thought I was a douchebag, but he knew I lived in Bali. And so I had to explain to him, can't. We don't know what that word means in Bali. In Bali, we manifest. The law of attraction. As long as you think it and use the right hashtags, it's going to happen. So he replied to me, he's only a Philadelphian, good. Well, you manifested up your ass. The horse was late. It got canceled from the race. Are you telling me a horse named Jakarta was late? That's a well-named horse. Well, did you check your WhatsApp? Was the horse sending you messages? On my way, almost there. What a gift. Of Tom Hanks running his Forrest Gump, Arabic blessing. It's a true story. I also went to the theater with my parents. I just had this rock and roll trip with my 80-year-old parents. We're going to the horse track, we're going to the theater, and we went to see South Pacific. I'd never seen South Pacific before, and I knew the song Bali High, and South Pacific is set during World War II, and in the Pacific. And Bali is where the sailors would come for rest and relaxation and, maybe if they got a little lucky, some romance. And then after the show, my dad was asking me, pulling me aside, like, hey son, is that why you're living in Bali? These beautiful women taking care of these white guys. These Balinese women. I'm like, oh no, Dad. Not the Balinese women. The Balinese women are conservative, they stay with their kind. No, these were Indonesian women living in Bali. Like for instance, the nurse that flirted with every single sailor, oh yeah, she was Sudanese. She was from Bandung. The girl who wanted to marry the sailor after one night together, Malang. She was from East Java. And the loud girl who wouldn't stop singing, Batak. Right, you guys live in Bali, you don't know anything about Indonesia. Bali is an island women in Indonesia. All right, so the musical, I always thought South Pacific was one of those light-hearted, fun, silly musicals, you know, like Hamilton or Jesus Christ Superstar. I didn't realize that race and interracial marriage and mixed children were a subplot in the musical. And one of the storylines was about a sailor who fell in love with an Indonesian woman, but he couldn't marry her because he was afraid his family back home wouldn't accept her. You know, until it's almost 100 years later, and bullets in Bali are still using that bullshit. Oh yeah, I love you, babe. I love the sex, but you know, can't get married. That old Muslim thing was in place for both my mom back in Minnesota. Right, I knew that joke wasn't gonna work. I'm in a room full of white people with their Indonesian girlfriends who want to marry them. I had some interesting conversations on the way home. That was when my parents have been married for 50 years. 50 years together. And to put that in perspective, they've been married longer than I've been alive. Nothing? Oh, come on! And my parents love each other. They got this beautiful relationship. You know, they're constantly doing small things for each other, not just every day, but every hour. I mean, it's a real partnership. And it wasn't always like that, so I'm glad they found it. You know, when I was younger, my parents would fight sometimes, a lot, and being home with them for a month just kind of resolved all that childhood trauma that I've been carrying around. It was really cathartic. I mean, it was really freeing. And it's almost like, well, why would I come back to Bali? Like, now I don't have to do sound therapy. You know, my chakras feel aligned. I don't need a placenta sandwich. And I didn't realize how impactful it was at this time with my parents, and how it just made me, that was just so much love, and it just made me such a better person. And I didn't realize it until I got to Jakarta to do the quarantine. And the first thing I did in quarantine was set up my VPN, because you know, there wasn't a lot of privacy staying with my parents. And when I went to Pornhub, for the first time in my life, I Googled couples that love each other. And apparently it wasn't the first time just for me, it was the first time for anyone, because there's 2 million videos on Pornhub and nothing came up. So I had to give my own story. I had to create the love in the story. You know, like, oh, he made dinner for her and did all the dishes, and that's why she's deep-throating him. The teacher really cares about the student, but doesn't think she's reaching her potential, so he's spanking her. She's feeling guilty about her white privilege, so she wants the 6 black guys to gangbang her. Right from my parents' love for masturbation. But that's what it was like, because you know, my parents are 80, and I was so petrified that if my parents caught me masturbating at home, then you know, if my mom had a heart attack, that would just be a really uncomfortable funeral. I mean, not to mention, what do you put in the obituary? My dad would probably remember I'm the one he doesn't like.